Welcome to Yates Makes. I am revisiting a technique using ballpoint pens to emboss paper and then transfer as you see me doing here, but this time in revisiting I have tried a suggestion that was made in a comments section of one of my videos, and that suggestion came from, and thank you loads for this, I hope I'm getting the pronunciation right, Engelhafen, who suggested working on damp paper. So here I am with 300 GSM paper. I've drawn my picture in pencil. Now I've soaked this for a good couple of minutes and then blotted it with a tea towel. Now I'm going over my drawing with a ballpoint pen straight into that damp paper. Now the huge benefit immediately that I'm noticing here is that I just don't need to press so hard, because that's what I was finding with my previous experiments. I really had to press quite hard to get that emboss deep enough into the paper so that it then doesn't make contact and acts as a resist effectively on the gel plate, thus transferring your drawing. So there it is, hanging out to dry on the line, and here we go, all ready to do my first transfer to see if this damp paper is really making a difference. Okay, let's see how this transfers. So this is some black Amsterdam acrylic. I'm going to just roll out a nice thin layer. I'm going to hold my emboss up to the light there just so you can see, or kind of get a feel for how deep that has embossed into the paper. So down, nice light touch, even pressure all over. Now I reckon I left this transfer copy on the surface of the plate for a good 3 or 4 minutes to make sure that paint had really dried where it had made contact with the paper. Peeling up, you can see just how clean that's transferred. I've retained loads of clarity in the line, and yeah, I mean, it's a fairly simplistic line drawing. There isn't too much hatching or shading, it is just outlines and detail lines, but dead chuffed with that. Mainly, I don't think the quality of the transfer is that much different to previous videos. It's just the ease of making it was so much more pleasant to draw working into the damp paper. Okay, I thought I'd go in with some hand colouring of this plate now. So I've mixed up a little Payne's grey there and a sort of buff white colour, and I'm just going to have a mess around with trying to paint a layer of tone into some of the shadow and darker areas, create a bit more form. So, you know, as you'll probably know with previous videos, if you've been following the channel for a while, I tend to just kind of film my first forays, if you like, my first experiments with an idea I get or a suggestion that comes through on the comment section of the channel, as I'm doing with this video. So just painting in. Obviously the more water you put in the mix, it's going to separate a bit on the plate, so I've just mixed a bit more paint, make that solution a little thicker just so it adheres to the paint in a slightly more opaque way, and just having a bit of fun with the brush, thinking about direction of brush strokes, textures, etc. And I didn't mention, but I'm using as a reference here some photography by a guy called Lee Jeffries, who did this fantastic series of photographs of, I think, mainly homeless people in the States, but they're great to draw from, especially when you want to get a lot of line work in your drawing. Check him out, Lee Jeffries, a really cool photographer who is using his talents to really highlight a lot of social injustice and social problems in, you know, contemporary life. So yeah, I'll skip on a bit, you get the idea. I'm letting layers dry here and painting more, building more depth to tones up in places. you know, this is something I'm going to have to explore a bit more, I think, which is kind of just manually painting onto the plate, building up layers and just kind of approaching it in a more painterly way. I haven't actually got around to do many experiments, and you know, I've definitely enjoyed this, so you know, maybe look out for future videos. Thinking about it, a kind of comment came through, a suggestion came through a while back on when I'd done some videos inspired by Matisse, Paul Klee, requesting sort of Van Gogh, Monet's water lilies maybe could be good subjects for getting a bit more painterly on the plate. So those layers are dry, time to put on a wet layer to pull. Oh, whoops. Okay, bit of slapstick for you there. I'll use that bit later. So just, yeah, nice thin even layer of that sort of buff creamy white colour. That's going to be my wet layer, which is going to pull all of those dry layers, the drawing transfer and so on. So I left that down for a good 5 or 10 minutes, and as you can see, pulled up nice and clean, got some interesting textures from my brush work, and my transfer copy is still intact. Now here is why I think this process is great, because you can get multiple pulls out of your one drawing transfer or your embossed drawing transfer page. So inking up straight away again with my kind of Amsterdam black, which is a nice heavy bodied acrylic for this sort of work. Straight down again. I've not done anything to this beyond let it dry. That's the transfer sheet I'm talking about. Obviously the paint is still wet on the plate here. Again, pressure nice and even, left it down a few minutes, and as you can see, comes up clean as a whistle. So that's the second one. Alright, I'm going to have a go at printing on this old book page. So, might be a bit flimsy, might rip. We're going to try though. First I better use up some of this. Let me find something. So the next stage was to leave these layers to dry completely, and then I pulled this print with Liquitex gel medium, so a nice thin coat over the top, and then I left it about 10 minutes. Now this is quite frail thin paper, so I did have to wait a while and peel it up really gently, but I kind of liked you know, how it ended up. The buff colour was kind of similar to the page, so it kind of blocked out a bit of the text. The text peeked through in some areas. Again, it's an experiment. It's just trying different surfaces. And there you go. Still retains nice clarity of line. You can see, sat next to the first experiment, how they compare. So, next experiment, I thought I'd try something a little different. So again, doing my transfer, just thought I'd do this first to see if it still holds up alright, my transfer copy, see if the emboss hadn't clogged up with paint, that it was still sufficiently deep to kind of enable a transfer in the first place. As you can see, all transferred fine, a little fainter definitely than the first two, which would suggest that those embossed areas are starting to clog a little bit or close up a little bit, but still a nice clean image. Okay, last experiment for today is try something a bit different. So this is the back of my transfer, and this is going to render it pretty useless because I'm putting pressure on the back here with some graphite. That is effectively squashing my emboss, but I don't mind, you know, I've kind of got out of it what I wanted, which was to see if this kind of damp paper emboss was going to be easier to work with, which it definitely is, right? So here's my thinking, right? I'm going to just try and transfer, put a little bit of pressure, key shapes, key features, get the eyes in, get the outline, just make sure that's transferring, so that's coming through underneath onto the paper I'm going to be printing on. And will that be enough? Yeah, that's enough of a guide. So now I'm going to get some pens, and I'm just going to put some tone in here, do a kind of under drawing before I then print this over the top. Okay, I'll time lapse that though. Okay, I'm going to give it a go. So yeah, I mean, transferring off the back of my, it seems to work just fine, you know. I was able to put a little tonal drawing underneath there. Kind of like it as it is, but I'm going to print over it. So again, you know, obviously I need this to be transparent, so on with the gel medium. Oof, way too much. And I wonder if it will print nice and clean over these alcohol markers, which you know, I've only just finished that drawing, so they may still be a little wet. We're going to give it a go. Line that up on there, flip it over, give it a rub. I think I'll probably stick a book on it, and leave that for a little while. Okay, let's peel this one up. Oh yeah, quite like that one. The acrylic definitely sits over those alcohol markers and no problem. So that was the third pull, and I think I probably could have got more off this had I not, you know, kind of flattened my emboss by graphiting on the back. Okay, there's the three for one, if you like. I think I could have got more, to be honest, had I not squashed the back of me picture with with the graphite to get me transfer. But loads of fun. Look, thanks again, Engelhafen. You know, the best thing about having this channel is film and publish some experiments, and people come back with comments and suggestions, and really sensible, intelligent suggestions. You know, this soaking of very heavy 300 GSM paper to do your emboss on makes all the difference. It means you don't have to press so hard, and you can draw far more fluently and naturally. And yeah, I mean, thanks again, Engelhafen. Teamwork. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, subscribe, support the channel, comment below, let me know how you get on with these techniques, and I'll see you soon for another video. Ta-ta.